All right, today we're jumping right into a really fascinating legal battle. It pits a single citizen against the very system that's supposed to hold judges accountable. This is a story all about rules, power, and the search for accountability deep inside our justice system.
So, let me ask you this. What actually happens when a judge breaks the rules? I mean, we expect them to follow the law perfectly, right? But what can a regular person do when they don't? That exact question is right at the heart of what we're breaking down today. And this isn't just some hypothetical case from a textbook. What you're looking at here is the real deal. It's a legal document filed by a citizen, Isabel Del Pino Allen, against the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission. This single document is the foundation for her entire fight.
Okay, so to really get what's going on here, we first need to understand the two key players in this legal drama.
On one side, you have the appellant, that's Isabel Del Pino Allen. And here's the crucial part. She's acting pro se, which means she's her own lawyer. On the other side is the appellee, the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission. We'll just call them the JQC. These are the folks officially in charge of investigating and disciplining judges in the state.
So I just used that term pro se. What does it actually mean? Well, it's Latin for oneself. And this isn't just a vocabulary lesson. It is central to the dynamic of this case. You literally have an ordinary citizen with no legal team taking on a powerful state commission. It's a real David versus Goliath setup.
So how did this whole thing even start? Well, the entire conflict, everything we're about to talk about, started because one single specific judicial rule was broken.
And we're not talking about some super complex, abstract legal theory here. Nope. It's all about something much, much simpler. A clear procedural deadline. Everything that happens next hinges on this one little rule.
Let's walk through this step by step. On September 10, 2021, the appellant files a motion to disqualify the judge. The rule is simple. The judge has 30 days to respond. He doesn't. So by October 12th, the rule says he's automatically disqualified. End of story. But, and this is the wild part, over a month later, on November 17th, this same, now disqualified judge issues orders and even dismisses her entire case. He only gets around to officially recusing himself in December, a full 2 months after the rules said he was already out.
This brings us to the absolute core of the legal question here. Can a judge who no longer has authority over a case issue legally binding orders? It seems like it should have a simple answer, but believe it or not, that's what this entire appeal is about. So, believing the judge clearly acted improperly, the appellant did the next logical thing. She filed a complaint with the group in charge of judicial oversight, and here's how they responded.
She laid out all the facts for the JQC. A clear rule was violated, and a disqualified judge kept making rulings. She argues that this isn't just a mistake, it's judicial misconduct.
But the JQC just dismissed her complaint. Their reason? They said that these kinds of allegations are, and I'm quoting, matters for review through the normal court process. In other words, they told her, not our problem, take it back to the courts. And that dismissal is precisely what sparked this whole new legal battle.
Which brings us right to the appeal itself, so let's break down the key arguments that she makes in her reply brief.
And this is where the two sides really clash. The JQC's position is that the appellant was wrong for ignoring the judge's orders, but her counterargument is just so powerful. Why should anyone be expected to obey orders from a judge who, according to the rules, had zero legal authority to issue them in the first place?
And the brief goes even further. It frames this as a fundamental issue of a citizen's right to challenge the system. This quote suggests that there's an underlying belief that an ordinary person, especially someone without a lawyer, should just accept what a judge does, no questions asked.
To fight back against the JQC's claim that she lacks standing, which is just legal talk for not having the right to sue, she clearly lays out these 5 legal requirements for her type of case. She argues that she meets every single one. She's making it clear that her complaint isn't just frivolous, it's a legitimate legal dispute that deserves to be heard.
Now, this next point is absolutely critical. Remember how the JQC said this was a matter for the normal court process? Well, her brief argues that that's fundamentally wrong. A regular court can review a ruling, sure, but it can't discipline a judge for misconduct. That power, she argues, belongs exclusively to the JQC. They are the only body that can hold a judge accountable.
So, all of this builds to a much bigger point. This isn't just about one citizen's case. It raises huge questions about accountability and really the public's faith in the entire judicial system.
And to make this point, the brief doesn't just argue the facts of its own case. It pulls in this powerful statement from a U.S. court's report, which really elevates the whole argument. It's making the case that the very function of our justice system depends on public trust.
And here it is, the actual excerpt from the brief. It drives home the point that our courts have to earn that public trust by sticking to high ethical standards and, importantly, by policing themselves.
And here is the final, powerful line from that report. It directly connects a failure to hold judges accountable with the erosion of public trust. I mean, this is the ultimate stake in this argument. If the system won't police itself, how can any of us have confidence in it?
Which leaves us with this one big, lingering question. The JQC was created to be the watchdog for judicial conduct. But if they refuse to investigate a clear violation of a rule, who then is there to watch the watchers?